Did you know that there are only 5 ways to grow your coaching business? In fact, there are only 5 ways to grow any business. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what exactly those 5 ways are. So a lot of times the people that I work with, and even myself to some degree, face the problem of getting lost in a bunch of different strategies to grow our businesses. We try a whole bunch of different things and we can feel confused and distracted, and it can just be a real mess sometimes. So the solution is to come back to this winning formula every single time that I've put up back here on my handy dandy flip chart, and I'm going to walk you through the exact 5 things. And whenever you're in a situation where you need to grow your business, just come back to this formula that I'm going to teach you and find where to focus your attention. Pick one thing to focus on, and you're going to see, I'm going to walk you through an example that'll show you how one small thing can make a really big impact. So this model that I'm going to share with you, I actually didn't make it up myself, although it is pretty standard in the business world. But the person who walked me through this for the first time and blew my mind, her name is Jody Johnson, and she's an action coach in South Florida. In fact, she was my very first coach and really taught me a lot about business. Since then, I've been in business now 13 years. I have an MBA, I've built a very successful coaching practice, and I've applied this every single time I've wanted to grow my business, and also with every single client that I work with. This is the inside magic that I use with my very own clients. Okay, so first I'm going to walk you through the formula, and then I'm going to show you an example of how it works. So we start with the number one thing that you can do to grow your business in any moment, and this is the most common one, the most obvious one, is to get more leads. When you increase leads, you have more, as I call them, at-bats. You have more opportunities to make a sale. The second piece of the formula is your conversion rate. Your conversion rate is the number of these leads that you get a yes from, that you actually make a sale to. So when you multiply the leads times your conversion rate, what you're going to end up with is a total number of clients. All right? The third piece that you can impact is the average number of sales per client. So that means that if you have only one offer that you're making to clients, your average number of sales is 1. But let's say you've got 2 or 3 offers. Some clients buy 1 item, some buy 2, some buy all 3. Then you're going to have an average that's somewhere in between 1 and 3. So probably something like 2 might be your average number of sales per client. When you multiply the number of client by the number of sales per client, you get your total sales. Once again, you can't impact this number directly. You can only impact it by moving the needle on this piece here, by increasing the average number of sales per client. Now this one I gave it away a little in advance. This one is the price. The price is another lever that you can pull to increase your total coaching income, your total profit. So when you raise the price, you multiply the price by total sales, and you get your total revenues. Again, you can't impact total revenues by itself. You have to move one of these levers to move total revenues. And then finally, the last thing that you can do is to increase your profit margin. So you can increase your profit margin by reducing your costs, for example. So let's start with an example. I'm going to use really simple numbers just to make it easy. Even then, the numbers are going to get a little complicated. But 100 leads. Let's say that you're getting 100 leads. Let's say that this is over the course of a year. And your conversion rate is 20%. So you have 100 times 0.20, or 20%, and that gives you 20 clients. All right, the next thing we want to do is the average number of sales per client. So let's say that that's 1. So for every client you're making 1 sale, that equals 20 is your total sales, right? So you have 100 leads times 0.2, 20 clients, 1 average sale per client leads to 20 total sales. Now let's look at price. All right, let's say we're charging $1,000 per client, then that means our total sales, our total revenues is $20,000. And then let's say our profit margin is 0.5, which means that we're keeping 50% of what we sell and we're spending 50% on costs and expenses. That leaves us with a profit, a total profit at the end of the year. This is not a very profitable business. $10,000. All right, you see how that all works out. Now the fun part of this is to look at what happens when we start to change some of these variables. Now keep in mind, The only variables that we can change, again, are this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. 5 variables. These are the only ones that we can actually impact. The rest are the result of the levers that we pull and the changes that we make. So let's go through an example where I show you what it looks like to make changes to these numbers. So we're going to increase each one of these numbers by 10%. So let's say we increase the leads by 10%. That means we get 110 leads in the year. And let's say we increase our conversion rate by 10%. Because 10% of 0.20 is 0.22. We don't add a whole 10% to 30%, even though a lot of people would think that that's the way you do it, but that would be a huge increase. We just want little incremental changes here to see what happens to our bottom line. So the incremental increase takes it from 0.20 or 20% to 22%. All right, look at what happens already. Just by making those 2 little changes, our number of clients goes from 20 to 24.2. And what's really interesting about that is notice that 24.2 is a lot more than 10% greater than 20. In fact, that's a 21% increase. So we're compounding the increase with each successive thing that we impact. We're also going to increase the number of sales per client from 1 sale per client to 1.1 sale per client. Now I know it's fractions and it gets a little confusing with the fractions, but just, this is more of a theoretical example, but you can see the impact that this makes, just making these little tiny tweaks, right? So you go from 1 sale per client to 110, and let's raise that price point from 1,000 to 1,100, 10%. Look what happens. Look at this. This is amazing. We go from 20,000 in revenues to almost 30,000 in revenues. That's about a 33% increase from here to here. So just by making small 10% increments in each little area, you're starting to really see a difference. Now look what happens when we increase our profit margin from 50% to 55%. Look at that. Look at the difference in profit, what goes in our pocket, from 10,000 to over 16,000. So the impact, look at that, that's about 60% increase just by making these little changes throughout. And one thing that I advise you to do is look at this list and say, well, where's the easiest place for me to add? Because a lot of times you don't need to change all of them. If you can just change one of them and make a more significant increase, you can still see a really big impact to the bottom line. So for example, if you find that, okay, I don't know how I'm going to generate more leads, so that's out, but you know what? I could really work on my sales skills and get a higher conversion rate. Maybe you could go from 20% to 40%. And maybe you could say, well, you know what? If I was so much better in sales, probably I could raise my price too. So maybe you just pick these 2 things to work on in 1 quarter and then see the impact on the bottom line. If you found this educational and you learned something and you're eager to apply this to your own business and you're looking for someone to help you do that, let's talk. Go ahead and set up a discovery call on my calendar or with someone on my team so we can explore if and how I can help you grow your business using the 5 ways.